Hashem, today's daf yomi is Menachos daf Samach Beis, Menachos 62. The Gemara tells us on today's daf yomi we're going to start around 13 lines from the top at the two dots. It says that the shtei lachem and the shnei kitzei atzeres, the two loaves of bread on Shavuos, and the two shalmei tzibor are waved together. Tana Rabbanon, Nifa Kohen Osam al lechem abikurim. Kohen waves them, talking about the sheep, these two shalmei atzeres, on the bread of the bikurim, on the shtei lechem. Yachol yaniach kvasim al gabi lechem. I might think you're supposed to put the sheep on top of the bread. Tamomar al shnei kvasim. It says on the two sheep, and the bread goes on the two sheep. Al shnei kvasim yachol lechem al gabi kvasim. So I might think that the bread goes on top of the sheep. Tamomar al lechem al bikurim. The sheep go on the bread of the bikurim. So nishtakel. So when we weigh the psukim against each other, I don't know if it's the bread on the sheep or the sheep on the bread. So just like we find in other places, the bread is on top when you do the waving. Also by the shtei lechem and the kvasim, the bread should be on top. Where is it in other cases? Amar Papa b'miluim, by the miluim ceremony on the 8th day of the inauguration. They were told that Salah Matzos was on top. So that's the first answer. That's what Papa's answer. Rabbi Yosef ben Amishulem Omer Kvad Simulawa. He says that the sheep are on top. Rabbi Yosef ben Amishulem says the sheep are the ones that go on top. Mani Mekayim al Shnei Kvasim. So what do I do with the fact that it says the bread goes on the two sheep? Otzi Shiva. So there are as part of the karbanos that are specially brought on Atzeres, on Shavuos, there are the two sheep that are shalom, but there are 7 sheep that are also brought as an olah. So this is telling us that the bread are waved with the 2 sheep and not the 7 sheep. Chanina ben Chakinai Omer Meniach shtei lechem ben yarkosei and shal kavasim. He says you place the 2 loaves of bread between the thighs of the sheep, and then you weigh them. And then you upheld both of these verses, meaning to say you put the sheep on their sides, and you put the bread, Rashi says, on the bottom thigh, and the bread on the kvasim also on the bottom thigh. And the sheep on the bread, which is on the top thigh. So therefore, it's while they're alive. And basically the bread is in between the thighs of the sheep. That's how Rashi explains it. So that's how Rashi explains it. So the basically the sheep are crouching, and the bread is basically on the thigh, while the thigh is also on the bread. That's how Rashi basically explains it. And then you've held both verses. Lechem agabe kvasim, and kvasim agabe lechem. So Rebbe says, "Lefnei melech malchei malchem hakadosh baruch hu, lefnei melech basar adamei nosin kain, lefnei melech malchei malchem hakadosh baruch hu." Osin kain, you would never do this before a king of flesh and blood put his bread between the thighs of an animal, and now before God Himself, that's what you're going to do with God's bread. You rather what you do is you put the sheep next to the bread, and you wave them. The Gemara says, but don't we require on top of? Rabbi follows his logic that he says al b'samach, that al means next to. Where do we see that? Where do we see that the word al means next to? Because we say that you're supposed to put on the trays of the shulchan lechem aponim, you're supposed to put the lavona on each stack. So Omer albas samachu ela al mamish. Maybe it means actually on it. When it says by the construction of the aron that you shall cover the aron with the parochas, that is this week's parasha. That's the reading for tomorrow's daf, which is Shabbos Kodesh. Or in the bottom of Samach Beis Amid Aleph, it says you shall cover the aron with the parochas. So we see from here, obviously you're not going to cover the aron with parochas. The parochas is a curtain to separate the Holy of Holies from the Holies. Ave Omer Albus Samach. It means next to. So to here also the two sheet means next to. You put them outward and backward, and you raise them up and lower down. You bring them forth and back. To the one who controls the winds. You bring them up and down. To one whom the heaven and earth belong to him. Marava and Eretz Yisrael Masnu Hachi. They taught it like this. Amar Rav Chama Bar Ukva Amar Rav Yossi Bar Chanina. Mocha Mevi Kedela Atzor Ruchos Raos. You bring it back and forth to stop the bad winds. Ma'u Mored, you bring it up and down Kedela Atzor Tolalam Rayim, to stop the bad dew. Amar Rav Yossi Bar Rav Avin Dosamaris Shiare Mitzvah Ma'akvim Es Haperonios, that just the remnants of the mitzvah stop the punishments. Daha tenufa shiari mitzvah. This waving is just shiari mitzvah. Rash says it's not ma'akev the atonement, it's not the main mitzvah. So the tzeres ruchos roos v'tolam rayim, and yet it stops the but yet it stops the bad dew. Amarab lulav. Also, this works by lulav. We need to bring it when we require this type of waving. It also works. Rav Bar Yaakov would bring the lulav, and when he would do that, he would bring it outward. He would bring it outward and inward, and then he would make a point, or basically bring it to his heart, and say, Geira be'ina de sitna. And he'd say, this is an arrow in the eyes of Satan. And that what she said was not appropriate. Because you don't want to incite Satan. Okay, so just before we go on, Tosfos points out, when we say that this is to stop the bad winds, it's maybe not all of the wavings do that. Only the tenufa of the 2 loaves of bread on Shavuos and the lulav, because we say in the first chapter of Rosh Hashanah, the Gzar Din Nechtam Pesach al Tfuah and Ba'ateres al Peres Ilam B'Chag al Mayim. So basically, you can't stop it because it's already been declared from heaven. And then Tosfos brings down the different practice that when you shake it or wave it, you have to do it 3 times for everything. And Tosfos goes through the different minhagim. Okay, up to the next line in the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanan Zivchei Shalmei Tzibor Tu'unin Tenufa. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Give me. Okay, so thank you for your patience. Continuing now, Tanarabban Zivche Shalmei Tzibor, the two sheep that are brought as communal offerings on Shavuos to Unan Tanifo La'achar Shlita Utunufos Kamoshein. They require waving both after the animal is slaughtered and also while they are alive. That's the position of Divrei Rebbe. The Chachamim Omrim Bechazo V'Shok. The Chachamim say that. So excuse me. Let me say it again. Zivchei Shalmei Tzibor Tunin Tenufo Achar Shlita Utunufas Kamoshein. And when they need it while they are whole, not when they're cut up. Rashi says Tenufa Tun and Tenufa Shlutin the Bechayin will itzrichlei a mistain the begufik. We don't need to emphasize that it needs to be waved while it's alive because that's written explicitly in the pasuk. But when they're waved after they're dead, Rabbi says that they're waved while they're complete. Whereas the Chum say the Chazal b'shok. The Chum say that they're waved after they're dead, just the breast and the thigh. The Mai Kamifli. What's the argument about here? The Mai Kamifli. So Amar le Rav Chisda Rav Hamnuna Amar le Rav Hamnuna Rav Chisda B'dom mina umina b'dom mina v'uki ba'asra. When you learn something from something else, you take all the laws or just a portion of the laws. Rabbanan Savri dom mina umina, that you learn just a portion of it. Meaning to say you learn all from it. Just like the karbanos of the shamim of an individual te'unin tenufa la'achar shlita, just like they require waving after shlita. Also, the Shalmei Tzibor require waving after the slaughter. Umina, and we learn from there. Ma hasam b'chazah shok. Just like there, it's by the chazah and the shok, the breast and the thigh. Afachanami b'chazah shok. Also here, it's the breast and the thigh. The Rebbe says, Rebbe says we just take a portion of the laws. Just like the individual shamim require waving. So he says, tunin tenuf v'lachar shlita. Zivchei shalmei tzibor tunin tenuf v'lachar shlita. Also, the shalmei tzibor require waving after the shlita. Uki ba'asra, and we leave it in its place. Hasam hu dechaz of a shok. There, by the shalmei yachid, it's the breast and the thigh. Avo hacha, but here, when it's a shalmei tzibor, kamos shehein b'chaim, that we Kamoshin, Shlemim, just like they are when they are alive. Rav Papa says the following. Rav Papa Amar Dekui Alma Domina. Everybody says Domina Mina. Everybody says we learned the entire law from it. But behind time at the Rebbe. So what's the reason why Rebbe says that? Hold on one second. Let me just get the shitos correct. So everybody says you learn the entire law from it. So why does Rebbe say do the entire animal and not just the breast and the thigh by the Shalmei Tzibor? Ki hasam ma hasam davar shematanu kohen. So it's going to be like over there. Ki hasam, like over there. Like the individual shalom. Just like over there, it's a matano kohen. Afacha davar shematanu kohen. So just like over there, the individual shalom, the waving is on that which is a gift to the kohen. So too here also, it's on that which is a gift to the kohen, which is the entire animal. And therefore, since the whole animal is given to the kohanim, therefore we do the whole animal. Ravina Amar Koi Alma Domine Bu'uki Ba'asra. Everybody says, and then we just learn a portion of it. So now we have to explain why is it that the Chachamim say you do the breast and the thigh. That since it says Shal Mehem in the plural, that's coming to amplify that it also implies to the communal Shamim. Rabbi Shimon Omer, now back to the next line of the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon says, Shalosh Aminin Tun and Shalosh mitzvos. Three of the types of karbonos require three mitzvos. Shtayim b'kol echad, u'shlishis ein b'hem. Three of them by Two of them are by each one, and the third doesn't have it. The Elohim, these are the three. Zivchei Shal Meyachad, Zivchei Shal Metzibor, Asher Mitzor. We did this in the Mishnah yesterday. The Zivchei Shal Meyachad, the individual one, Tu'unin Smicha, they require Smicha while it's alive, Tunufa Shlutin, and Tunufa while it's slaughtered. The Ein Bahen Tunufa Chaim, and they don't have Tunufa while it's alive. Zivchei Shal Metzibor, the Shal Metzibor, require tenufa chayim ushlutin. They require waving while it's alive and dead, but they don't have smicha. Asher mitzora, the asher mitzora telling smicha tenufa chayim ve'im bo tenufa shachad. That's not waved after the death. Gemara says, "We use zivchei shal meyachad tu'unin tenufa chayim." Why don't we say that the carbon shlamim as an individual offering should require waving while it's alive? Mikav chomer, mikav chomer. Ma zivchei shal metzibor. Just like the communal shlamim does not require smicha while it's alive, tu'un and tenufa chayim does require tenufa while it's alive. Zivchei shal meyachid, the individual shlamim shetu'un and smicha chayim, and din shetu'un and tenufa chayim should all for sure require tenufa while it's alive. If it requires smicha, Gemara says, yeah, we could have thought that, but miya rachmana gabei zevach shal tzibor. The Torah limits it when it discusses the communal offering, and it says communal shlamim. It says Veinifa Kohen Otam, that these are the ones that are waved alive. To tell us Otam Wamiute Zivchei Shal Meyachid, to exclude the individual shlamim. Use Zivchei Shal Metzibor to unin smicha. The Gemara says, well, why don't we say that the Shal Metzibor requires smicha? Should require the laying of the hands with kavachomer from a kavachomer. Mad Zivchei Shal Meyachid. Just like the private karbanos, she'ein tu'unin tenufa chayim, they don't require tu'unin while they're alive. Tu'unin smicha, but they do require smicha. Zivchei shal metzibor she'tu'unin tenufa chayim, eno din she'tu'unin smicha. For sure, the zivchei shal metzibor should require smicha. Amar Ravina, Gemiri, no, we have a tradition. Rashi says, Mi Sinai. We have a tradition, halacha Moshe mi Sinai, or from Sinai. Shtei smichos b'tzibor. There are two types of communal offerings that require smicha. And what are they? Rashi tells us this is the communal par, the par om devar shel tzibur, because it says and the goat that's sent into Azazel, which says samacharon shtei adav. And there's no other time. So the reason why we don't say this from a tradition. Well, Asher Mitzorah ta'on tenufa shachot, the Asher Mitzorah should require waving after it's slaughtered, mikav v'chomer. Ma zivchei shal meyachid. Just like the individual shlamim does not require tenufa while it's alive, tu'un and tenufa shlutin does require the tenufa while it's waved. Just like the carbon shlamim, the individual does not require the tenufa while it's alive, does require the tenufa once it's slaughtered. For sure, it should require the tenufa after it's slaughtered. Gemara says, no, Mia Rahmana Gabe Zevach Shamayachid Oso Miyute Asher Mitzora. It says that's the one that's waved. But not the Asher Mitzora. Tanarabana Chamisha Sheviu Carbon Echad. Let's say 5 people got together to bring one carbon, shlamim. Echad meinif ayteikuim. One does the waving for all of them. Isha Kohen meinif al yada. If there's a woman, the Kohen waves for her. V'chein ha'sholeach karbanos of Medinas Hayam. Also, somebody who sends his carbons from other seas. Kohen meinif al yada. The Kohen waves on his behalf. Okay, that's today. That's the daf for Shabbos. Baruch Hashem. We'll go over this tomorrow. Baruch Hashem.
Thank you.